What you're about to see is one of the best breakdowns I've seen from a politician, pundit, or journalist since I've been reporting on media and politics for Occupy Democrats, and it expertly exposes why Donald Trump is doing the extreme things he's doing. The expert I'm speaking of is Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, but in this MSNBC interview, he sounds more like an NPR journalist who is being methodical in connecting dots to inform citizens of a democracy that they should be concerned about the corruption being directed by the man about to assume the highest office. In this piece, you'll hear him comment on the news about Liz Cheney that everyone is talking about today. He takes a swipe at the media for not doing their job, and then he connects the Cheney story to Trump's grand and very nefarious plan. Here's Murphy's take on Trump going after Cheney.
The last 4 days have been really important because you are seeing how this plan is going to work, and it's just going to be on hyperdrive once he becomes president. So there are a lot of countries in the world that technically have elections, but they're not real democracies. And the reason they're not real democracies is because the opposition becomes so weak out of fear of criminal prosecution, and the press becomes so cowed by the regime that there's actually not a real choice in any of these elections. And Trump has been telling you over the last 4 days exactly how he's going to do that. This effort to line up a criminal prosecution of Liz Cheney is a clear signal that if you cross him, you could end up in jail. And no one's going to stop him because this time around he has a Department of Justice that doesn't care about the law. He's got a director of the FBI who actually believes that Trump's political opponents should be in jail. And he's got enough judges that are MAGA loyalists that they might actually work the rules to put Liz Cheney or others in jail. You put side by side with that this lawsuit against the Des Moines Register, totally baseless, but really just designed to intimidate the press into folding and refraining from criticizing Donald Trump, or in this case, not even commissioning a poll that might have some bad news for Trump and might give some oxygen to his political opposition. In countries where that happens, where the opposition fears going to jail, so they stay home, and the press doesn't tell the truth because they fear consequences, democracy dies.
So, all of that was scary, but at least the press is doing their job, right? Not so fast. Watch as Murphy takes a swipe at the media, to the media's face, and then I'll reveal why Trump is doing what he's doing through Murphy's unique and expert lens.
Yeah, I think the most important remedy right now is for this not to be normalized. I read all the headlines about the Liz Cheney criminal referral yesterday, and almost every single one of them in mainstream media played this straight as if this was as if this was a normal, regular function of legislative power, instead of telling the truth, which is that this is made up out of thin air. There's not even a shred of a crime committed here. But if you read the headlines yesterday, you thought that Liz Cheney actually did something criminally wrong. And so as leaders, we can't accept that this is normal. As journalists, you can't accept that this is normal. The minute that we pretend that this is a normal exercise of executive power is the day that people give up fight. It's really important to explain to people the why. Right? Why is Donald Trump engaged in this relentless campaign to try to silence journalists, media companies, and his political opposition? It's because he's trying to steal from you. He and his friends are in charge of government because they want to rig the rules in order to make them even richer. The billionaires that are in charge of this cabinet want to be multi-billionaires. Donald Trump will never be satiated. He wants to steal from ordinary Americans in order to make him and his Mar-a-Lago friends even richer. And the reason that he wants to silence his critics and silence the media is that he doesn't want anybody to notice the kleptocracy that he is building. Unless you tell that story, right, how does it impact you?
I have to admit that before this video, I was not familiar with the word kleptocracy, and I had to look up its meaning. And for others not in the know, it means a form of corruption where government leaders use their powers to enrich themselves at the expense of the nation's citizens through embezzlement, kickbacks, bribes, and other means. My guess is we are going to hear this word a lot more over the next 4 years because it perfectly describes the crime that is being committed in plain sight, with Democrats resisting and Republicans landing somewhere on the spectrum between looking the other way and full-blown accomplices. Our democracy is literally at stake with this atrocity, and I'll close by letting Senator Murphy explain why, and then I'll give Liz Cheney the final word with her recent statement about Trump's plan for revenge.
So we've got these nomination fights coming up on Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. We should fight as Democrats like democracy is on the ballot, because it is. And if we don't show outrage right now, then the public is going to just accept that this is a normal circumstance of present day democracy. So showing some fight right now, both in the private sector and amongst electeds, is really important.
Cheney released a blistering statement, quote, January 6 showed Donald Trump for who he really is, a cruel and vindictive man who allowed violent attacks to continue against our Capitol and law enforcement officers while he watched on television and refused for hours to instruct his supporters to stand down and leave. The January 6 committee's hearings and report featured scores of Republican witnesses, including many of the most senior officials from Trump's own White House, his campaign, and administration. All of this testimony was painstakingly set out in thousands of pages of transcripts, made public along with a highly detailed and meticulously sourced 800-page report. The Department of Justice conducted its own independent investigation and reached the same fundamental conclusions. Now, Chairman Loudermilk's interim report intentionally disregards the truth of the Select Committee's tremendous weight of evidence and instead fabricates lies and defamatory allegations in an attempt to cover up what Donald Trump did. Their allegations do not reflect a review of the actual evidence and are malicious and a cowardly assault on the truth. No reputable lawyer, legislator, or judge would take this seriously, end quote.